Are you ever overwhelmed when trying to choose colors? Or when you find colors that you like, you have trouble applying them to your art? Well, there's a few simple steps that will make your art look amazing, like a professional. And in this video, I'm going to show you those steps and give you 5 simple rules that you can start applying to your own art today so you can start making the art that looks amazing. Plus, I'm going to show you some simple methods to choose colors that look great, not just on your palette, but also on your art. And to start, I want to show you why some colors look good together and others look like hot garbage. If you ever played a musical instrument, you know that if you just mash down notes, it sounds bad. But when you learn music, you learn musical harmonies. And these are notes that are spaced out in specific intervals. These sound great when you play these notes together. Now, just like music has harmonies, color also has harmonies. And these are colors that are spaced in specific intervals around the color wheel and that generally look good together.
So we're going to start with the most important color harmonies. And the first color harmony is a monochromatic one, which is technically a single color. Now, with a musical note, a single one, you can hold that note for a really long time. You can play it really fast or really slow. Using a single color may seem really boring on the surface of it, but the secret is using a bunch of saturated and desaturated, dark and light colors. And that makes it a really, really excellent one to practice so that you can get really good at taking advantage of all of the variety that you can get out of a single color. And this is going to make it easier once you started adding more colors to be able to get a lot out of your colors. The next color harmony is analogous colors. And analogous simply means that they're right next to each other in natural rainbow order on the color wheel. You'll often see these colors occur naturally in nature. For example, there is a really light chartreuse yellow-green color and a dark blue-green color right next to each other. Complementary colors are the most powerful concept about color harmonies that you're going to learn today. And these are colors that are opposite of each other on the color wheel. These colors contrast against each other really, really strongly. They're very powerful against each other, which means that when you use this color harmony, the colors pop a lot. And because of that, they're used so much for movie posters that it's almost a trope. So to soften up a complementary color palette, we could instead use a split complementary, which instead of going directly across, goes to the sides. So this is a little bit easier on the eye. It's not quite as contrasty. And finally, we come to tetratic color harmonies, which is essentially 2 sets of complementary colors, which you can see here.
So in conclusion, we just went over a lot of color harmonies, but the 2 main takeaways that I want you to take away is that complementary colors, the colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel, those tend to work really well together. And analogous colors, colors that are next to each other on the color wheel, those also tend to work really well together. But have you ever found a beautiful color palette that you love, but when you try to apply it to your art, it just doesn't look as good? To understand why this happens, it can help to think of your art being similar to a movie. In a movie, we've got main characters and supporting characters.
And in order for the main characters to stand out from a crowd in the scene, it helps for them to have a unique, distinct color from everything else. And in our art, this simply means that we're going to use more colors than others. So as you can see, really only a small fraction of the colors are actually orange in this. Mostly it's this teal color, darker and lighter. Same in this Vincent van Gogh piece. But somehow, even by using less of a color, it's more noticeable. Our brain is trained to spot the color that is less used because it stands out. It's unique. But in a piece where you're using more than just 2 colors, how do you know how much of each color to use? Most of this piece is taken up with different shades of pink. And then the next most dominant color is blue. Finally, we've got a little bit of orange and a little bit of green. This is about 60, 30, and 10%. This 60-30-10 rule is really common in graphic design, and it can be very helpful when you're struggling to decide how much of one or another color that you should use. Now, it may be helpful to look at this as like, this isn't just this one shade of pink. Truly, we've got several shades of pink in here, and it's the same thing with the blue.
Now, maybe you find it easy to spot colors that you like in other people's art, but when you add them to your own, it doesn't work very well. Well, in this next step, I'm going to show you how to foolproof your colors.
And to understand why this happens, take a look at this image. What color would you say that this teacup is? All right, now how about this lower sardine? What color is that? To me, the teacup is a light blue and the sardine is a gray, but they're actually the exact same color. The reason that they look so different is their surroundings. So the pink in this, in addition to the blue, both of these are really, really pale colors. They're almost bordering on gray. So while they're surrounded by each other, they seem more vibrant. But put that same gray next to a blue that's super, super saturated like this one, and it doesn't look blue at all anymore. It looks quite dull.
So what does this mean for you? How do you fix this problem?
When you want to apply a color palette to your art, you need to consider the background colors and the colors that are touching, like these pumpkins here. If I change one of the colors of these pumpkins, it's going to affect how the other colors look. So when I'm trying either a new color palette or a new art piece, I always start with these color studies. I'm not trying to be perfect with these colors. I'm just roughly blocking them in. And this is just a quick test with the color palette to say, hey, is this going to work? Do I need to make this pink a little bit lighter so it'll stand out against the purple?
But what if you're working with really tricky colors, like very light or very dark colors, and you can't go lighter or darker? Well, there's two solutions to this problem.
Let's troubleshoot my student Daniela's project. She's got this black cat and crow, but it's really difficult to see the shading that she's added to this cat. And the same thing with the crow. There's all these details, but because the crow and cat are so dark, it's difficult to see. Now, I can't really make the body of the crow a light gray because that wouldn't work. Crows aren't a light gray, right? Well, since I can't go any darker, I'm going to think about the one thing that I can do, which is go lighter. Instead of focusing on creating shadows, I've focused on creating subtle highlights. Now, in situations like this, it's crucial that you do this carefully. It's easy to think, oh, I'm just going to go lighter. I'm going to choose a light color here. But look what happens. Look how intense this color is. And if I zoom out, you'll see that this kind of looks weird now. Whereas if I undo, this is the colors that it was before. This color, the light shade that I'm using in this crow, is actually still a very, very dark color. It's just noticeably lighter than the dark body of the crow. When you're working with really, really dark colors or really, really light colors, even a small shift in color can be dramatic. Now, I've done the same thing with the cat here, and I would argue that adding the highlighting actually makes this cat feel like it's even darker because it's got that contrast, whereas it's difficult to see with this cat. And I just want to shout out how much progress Daniela has made with her art in the Illustrator's Launchpad, with her colors and all of her work. She's put so much effort into growing her skills, and you can see more of her amazing work on Instagram.
Many of us are told growing up that artists don't make money and that being an artist isn't a real job. But that's actually not true. Look, I was totally broke when I started my art business. I started with no talent, no money, but I ended up growing an art business so successful that I needed to hire help just to keep up with demand. So in this video, I share the key things I'd do differently if I was going to start over from scratch today to make money from my art faster.